Okay, on this video I'm only going to be talking about the Perspective Assist feature on Procreate. If you are looking for a full app rundown and tutorial for the whole of the Procreate app, please look in the description below. I have actually done quite a lengthy video of this already, and I will provide a link down in the description. So if you're wanting to discover about every feature of the app, please click on that first. And this video is going to be specifically about one aspect, and that is the Perspective Assist. I did look at the perspective guide, and I did give a brief rundown of how to use that within the whole tutorial video, but I'm going to focus on the Perspective Assist today, which is within the perspective guide, is an extra level of help that the app gives you when trying to create perspective drawings. Now I've opened an A4 blank canvas. I think the first thing I'm going to do is to go over to the settings here on the wrench or the spanner symbol, and if you look down here, the perspective guide is listed here, so I'm going to enable it. Now as soon as you do this, the next thing that happens is that this little thing becomes available too and drops down, and it's edit perspective guide. Then it takes your canvas into a new screen, and it gives you the ability to adjust where you would want the vanishing points on your perspective. So I'm going to do 3 different perspectives. I'm going to do one either side, and I'm going to do one down below. When you're satisfied with where you've placed the vanishing points, you also have the function to adjust the opacity of the lines. So if they're going to be too dark in your canvas and distract you, then you can actually turn them down so they're not quite as prominent. I think I want them slightly more subdued. I hope that you'll be able to see them on the canvas when I am actually working and it's zoomed in, but I do find they're a little bit of a distraction. I will turn them up slightly more just in case there is an issue looking at it on camera, but I think I'm relatively happy with that, so I'm going to click done, and then it drops you straight back into the canvas. You can see the guidelines, and so it does enable you to, even without the Perspective Assist, it enables you to judge where to put the lines for your perspective drawing. Now the purpose of the video is to show you this feature, which if you go onto the layers and you tap on the layer, it gives you another set of options, and you can rename, fill, or Perspective Assist. So if you click on that, you'll notice now that once it's enabled, it will actually notify you within the layer tab there, and it gives you the Perspective Assist extra information. So once that is enabled, I'm just going to change the background actually, because I do not like a white canvas. If I do it in neutral grey, the lines will be barely visible, so I'm going to take it quite a bit darker. It's not going to be so dark that I can't see a black line on it, but it's just, I want to be able to see these lines as separate from the dark lines that I'm actually drawing. So to make sure that my lines are very visible, I'm going to set my colour, my pencil, to the black. I'm also going to make sure that the pencil is set to a medium hard brush. I'm going to turn the pencil down so it's a small line, in fact a little bit smaller than that. Make sure the opacity is up because you want to be able to see the line quite clearly. Now I don't know whether it was visible at that point, but when you come to draw a line next to here, it automatically snaps so that it is actually impossible to deviate from the line. You'll notice at the beginning of the mark there, when I'm trying to make it deviate, it sort of snaps from, it either wants to do that or it wants to do that, or another option is it will do that line. It follows basically all the guidelines that are there, so you can see there's a few different options it can do, but it is limited. So I'll just undo all of those. If I take Perspective Assist off, if I take it off, tap it again and remove it, you'll see it's notified me it's no longer there. I'm now free to doodle as much as I want. Okay, which might be useful later on in the drawing, but for this stage at the beginning, I just want to make sure that the Perspective Assist is on and that I'm not going too far foul of the guidelines. I want to make sure that the guidelines are actually there for a purpose and they are assisting me in the drawing. I am going to produce something kind of abstract. I don't really have too much of an idea. I have a vague idea of what I want to do, but it could deviate quite wildly from that, so I'm not too sure where it's going at this point. I'm just going to start doodling, experimenting with the tools and seeing what it's capable of, really. So I hope you enjoy watching. I may be sort of commenting various points just to explain what I'm trying to achieve, but I mainly just want to show this as a demonstration of the kind of things that maybe you might want to do yourself within the perspective guide on Procreate and using the Perspective Assist. So to begin with, I'm going to use some of these lines. They are actually quite useful and are inspiring what I might choose to do as a kind of picture. If you find you actually want to adjust something, you want to erase some areas of detail, it is actually easier sometimes to switch off the Perspective Assist, because it makes it very awkward because the eraser actually follows the same assist lines that the pencil does as well, which is, I suppose, might be useful to some extent, but I actually find it quite an irritation. So if you want to use the eraser as normal, you're better to tap on the layer, click it again, go back to eraser, and then you can use it freely just like you would in a normal painting. Otherwise the eraser will lock to the lines just in the same way that the pencil will do. Find it necessary in the Perspective Assist to draw a lot of lines first and then go back over it with the eraser, because you can't really control every line freely, so it's better to just get the guidelines in perhaps first, and then you can go back over it with the eraser and fine-tune some of those details. At this stage I'm going to make a few decisions about where I want the light sources to be coming from. So I think I'm going to have a light source coming from the left that's maybe going to be the brightest, so I'm going to pick not a white, but a much paler tone to fit into there. And you'll notice I did explain this in the full app tutorial, but if you have a colour you want to use up at the top there, you just need to press, hold it, and then drag it across to the area that you actually want to fill, and then drop it into that area. Now there wasn't a problem when I dropped it in here, so maybe I've not closed up the shape properly there, and now I can identify that down there's a gap. So if I double tap to undo that, go back onto here, I'll have to select a black again because I want to close that loop in the same colour. If I go back, you'll notice also, whilst I'm showing you a close-up here, there's a lot of little bumps and errors, and it's not perfect. I'm only doing this as a bit of an experiment, really. This is not what I would consider one of my finished pieces necessarily. And if I want to go back to the same colour, I can press and hold and it will reselect it, and then I can do the same process again. Oops, again. It actually notifies me there that I've made a mistake, so I've forgotten to put the line that goes across. I'll try the process again. There. And I think for the top layer I'm going to go for a slightly darker tone of grey, so I can start filling in some of those areas. Obviously as shapes go in front of other shapes, then they're going to affect the light and the general tone, and there might be some shading that I need to do later on. I'm just going to place in some of the simpler ones, just so I don't lose sense of some of the shapes that I'm making. then for this final side I'm going to pick something that's not as dark as the background but darker than the other two sides, so I can drop that in now for any remaining areas. Okay, just like you would in the rest of a painting, it's probably a good idea to keep adding layers, then one area doesn't get confused with another and you can keep adding information. It's also really useful if you, for example, draw a shape. I'll need to put the perspective assist on this one as well. If you draw a shape on a new layer now, which I'll do very quickly, and then you want to fill it with a different colour, just for demonstration, it will fill all of that shape and it won't take any notice of the lines from the forms underneath. Okay, I've taken this as far as I think I'm going to at this particular point. I just wanted to experiment and demo what the perspective assist is actually like to work with. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please look at all my other videos, subscribe. I'll see you again next time. Thank you.